Welcome to Really Raha, the podcast for coaches and creators who want to build luxury brands without burning out. I'm Raha, business energetics coach, PhD student, and sponsored skateboarder. I went from serving tables and hustling every client to building six-figure systems and offers that sell in my sleep. Here we talk all things raw when it comes to business strategy, nervous system regulation, and stepping into your goddess frequency with tangible, actionable steps to help you scale to consistent 10K plus months. If you're here, you know freedom is your birthright. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to episode 6. I have Mike with me here again because we just spent the past 4 days with Tony Robbins, 12 to 14 hours a day, one of those days, all those days. We were just immersed in the experience. So I wanted to debrief you as the listener. And I thought, what better way to do that than to bring Mike on so that we can share our experience together. We spent some dancing right before this episode so we can get in our peak state and get hyped up. We're actually filming this pretty late right now. And I'm so excited to have you here again, Mike.
Thank you for having
Welcome.
me. Yeah, I'm super stoked too, and it might be nighttime, but we're still fired up. Thanks to what we learned, right? So
Thanks to what we learned and what we're going to share and really how to get into that peak state, that beautiful state that Tony Robbins taught us about. So like I said, we had 4 days with him, and I'm not going to lie, it was a little overwhelming thinking about what I'm going to focus on with you because I want to share everything with you. And I also want this episode to be around 45 minutes to an hour when we have 2 people on. So we're going to go through the things that intuitively come through for us. I got some notes too of things that we want to hit. And I'm here to give you what you need so that you can have breakthroughs like we had breakthroughs, and to give you some tangible practices so that starting today, you know what you need to do to get into this beautiful state so that you can make decisions from this grounded, abundant place so that you can come back to your abundant baseline faster. So we are going to be talking about that. We also walked on fire. We walked on 1200 degree coals barefoot after our first day to really prove that we can push through barriers that we didn't know we could do. I didn't think that I could walk on fire.
yeah, no kidding. That was quite the experience. I didn't expect that. We didn't sign up for it, knowing that was part of it. We were at the end of day 1, and they were just like, "Yeah, you guys are gonna walk on fire." And I don't know about you, but I was like, "Wait, what?" Oh, he's obviously joking. He was not joking.
I literally thought it was a joke until the very end.
Yeah.
Like I thought maybe they aren't real coals. And then we walk out from the arena barefoot, the Honda Center, from the inside where we're sitting all the way outside to the parking lot. Everyone, thousands, there were 15,000. Some people were on virtual. I think there were like 10,000 people there live. All of us at the same time walked out barefoot, went out to the parking lot, and sure enough, they were real coals.
Yeah.
I just posted a slider so you can see the real coals in there on my Instagram, and we did that. We walked on bare coals.
Yeah, picture like having a barbecue where you're grilling, burgers or something, and then afterwards dumping all the coals out for like, how long was that? Like 15, 20 feet,
Yeah.
Imagine like you just finished the barbecue, the coals are red hot, you dump them on the ground, and then like walk on them barefoot. Like that's what we did.
Yeah. And it was really inspiring to see like Oprah walked on those same coals too.
Sure.
So to have that experience and to literally walk in her path as well, and so many paths, because he does that in every Unleash Your Power Within event. So that's just part of the experience.
I mean, walking on those coals, what's the key?
Yeah. We didn't just walk on coals without priming. So he primed us. He primed our nervous system. He got us in this beautiful, beautiful state where we just didn't even hesitate once we got to it. We're like, yep, it's happening. We saw it, and we had the support of everyone around, and we celebrated, and it was just such a beautiful analogy for life.
In order for it to like work and you don't get burned, you have to be like fully fired up and be like, ah! And then you walk over them, and you don't run over them, like you walk over them, right? And I don't know about you, but like I was expecting it to like hurt a ton and like have blisters or something on my feet, and like I'm perfectly, and I was like, wait, that was like surprisingly chill for the fact that I just like walked over all that coal with my bare feet. Like I never thought that was humanly possible. But if you get into this like fired up state of mind, somehow it like changes something, and like you can like now walk on coal, which like you said is a metaphor for life. I feel like a great place to start is like why get into this state of mind, right? Because you can
Yeah.
do shit that you never would be able to do otherwise, really.
Yeah. And the metaphor for life really is when you get into this peak state, this beautiful state, this grounded nervous system where you believe anything is possible. It doesn't matter what fire life throws at you. You can still walk on those coals and not feel it the same way that you would if you didn't prime your nervous system in
Yes.
that habit every day, every day, every day.
Yep. So the key to this, and the key I feel like to life now that I understand this, is just kind of priming your nervous system and your mind to be ready for anything. And I don't know, maybe it sounds obvious, but if you can, really control that and kind of know where the on off switch is, so to speak, then you can just get so much more out of life. And I feel like that's kind of the premise of this whole thing. And I mean, I got 20 pages of notes, in this notebook, and then there's the workbook they gave us, and I'm sure you got another 20 or more, and plus your workbook. So I mean, there is no way we're going to fit all this into an hour, right? But we'll do the best we can. So,
Yeah, yeah. We'll hit the key points. And, the very first thing I have written on here that we can start with is find something you care beyond yourself, because followers follow culture, but leaders, they create their own culture. So he was talking about how hunger is the ingredient for success, having that insatiable curiosity where you're connecting your heart and your head together and getting to this peak state where you have great energy, even when you don't feel like it. Being able to get to that place, even when you don't want to. And it's not faking it until you make it. It's rewiring the neural pathway to get there quicker. So that when you're going about your day and you have something sting, but you have a client call in 30 minutes, you can get there. Or if you had it in 3 minutes, you can get there. And
yep.
he talks about emotion is created by motion, emotion. So your quality of life depends on your emotions. And that right there, it says so much, just thinking about how our quality of life is really dependent on our states and what we choose to believe and what we choose to focus our energy on.
100%. And I mean, and this isn't just true of like, you said you got like a sales call or something, right? In 30 minutes and something throws you off. I mean, staying in that example, I mean, if you have one call that goes really bad and like someone like, gets all upset at you, or I don't know, just something goes horribly wrong, and then you got another call right after, well, you got to shake it off, control your state of mind, not let something that happened to you dictate what happens next. But there was a phrase for that. He said, life happens for you, not to you. And so you got to find the way, see it the right way, get back into your peak state, no matter what happens, and keep going, And this isn't just true of business or sales or anything. I mean, priming yourself before like a skate contest, right? I mean, this applies to a lot more walks of life than just business.
Yeah, because it comes down to feelings. We crave freedom. You crave freedom. You, the listener, you're here for freedom. You're building your business for freedom. You're scaling your business for freedom. Freedom is a feeling. And
Yep.
one thing that really stood out to me to what he said is you can have multiple purposes, right? So many of us think, oh, we have one purpose in life. I have my business. I have skateboarding. I have me being a PhD student. I have multiple purposes. You have multiple purposes. Why are we putting ourselves in a box thinking that we have one purpose? It's limiting yourself. So I think that right there is an anchor to being able to let yourself be obsessed with multiple things.
Yeah, that's good. And actually, I wanted to add something to that freedom thing that you said a minute ago. And maybe you were getting to this. I'm not really sure. But I remember he had an audience member stand up. It was just some like random woman that was just in the audience. And he's like, hey, you there, stand up. And he was saying, well, what is it that you really want in life? And it basically came down to a feeling. He kind of kept asking, well, why do you want that? Why do you want that? Why do you want that? And she was like, so that I can be free. And so he goes, okay, so what you want ultimately is freedom, right? Which is a feeling. Basically, life kind of comes down to feelings. And then we kind of put like external things in front of it. I want whatever it is, house, car, gold medal, whatever it is you want, $1 million so that I can feel a certain way. But the magical thing is you can feel that way right now. And then the ironic thing is that by feeling that way, you attract the external things that make you feel more of that way. So like, I feel like a lot of people kind of have it backwards where they think the feelings come after the thing, but the feeling comes and then the thing comes. And because you could get the thing and still not get the feeling. You could get the million, bajillion, quadrillion dollar house, whatever, and still feel trapped or whatever it is you were feeling because that maybe was never even the real issue. So it's really interesting to think of it like, well, if I just feel that now, then I attract more of it and then I get more of that feeling. And so it's almost like
Yeah.
it's
It's a
almost like the
common trap.
caveman brain has it backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. We were wired to think, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I get the dream house. I'll be happy when I get 5 clients. I'll be happy when I make my first 100K. When
Right.
really it's feeling it now,
Well,
and
now,
then that's how we get it.
exactly. That will put you in a better position to get it.
Yeah. And it actually collapses times faster when you
Yep.
do it that
Quantum
way.
leaping,
The timeline is exponentially faster when we decide to focus on how we actually want to feel instead of what we want to get.
100%.
And he broke this down to 3 decisions. He said,
Yep.
number 1, what am I going to focus on? We do not experience life. We experience the life that we focus on.
This goes into the reticular activating system, right?
Yep.
So for those of you, maybe you guys know what that is, maybe you don't, but the reticular activating system is something in our brain where it chooses what to focus on. That the example that I feel like always comes up is if like you drive a blue car, right? And so if you are shopping for a blue car, you're going to get your blue car for the first time, you start thinking about blue cars and you start seeing all these blue cars like, oh, there's the car I want to get, and it's even in the same color. And so if you are looking for it, you start noticing all these blue cars, but you only start noticing that after you started looking for it because it was always out there. But the more we focus on something, the more it starts to appear in front of us, even if it was there the whole time, because there's an unlimited amount of things in front of us. We can't focus on it all. It's just not possible, right? There's an unlimited amount of cars. We can't notice them all. And that's just cars. There's a million other things in this world that we literally can't process it all. So our brain has to choose what to focus on, but we can choose that.
Yeah. Because it opens up doors that we may not have been able to see before.
Exactly.
Because when you choose to have something in your awareness of what you want, then all of a sudden you overhear a conversation of, oh, this person is looking for this help in their business and they're having this conversation with this person. Oh my God, I can help them. I can serve this person. But if we weren't primed to have that be in our focus and our awareness, we wouldn't have heard that conversation. It would have been a passing conversation. So a lot of people, and myself included, and in the very beginning, I would focus so much on the one person that I thought wasn't stoked for me, the one person who I thought, would be intimidated by my light. And truth of the matter is, happy people don't tear you down. So if you're speaking to people and you're inspiring and you're serving, they're going to be stoked for you. But it's so easy to get in the mind of that one person that may not be stoked for you. But guess what? If we focus on that, then it's no longer going to be a one person. We're going to bring more
Yep.
of that in, and it's going to be our entire reality. So I think that's a common lesson of choosing to focus on the growth and the abundance and what you actually want to see.
Focus on things that will empower you because there's plenty of things that will empower you and there's plenty of things that won't. And so where focus goes, energy flows. That was one of the jillion quotes I wrote down. There's so many golden nuggets like that. You're saying like, oh, don't focus on the haters, right? Because there's going to be haters. If you do anything great in life, people are going to hate. They'll find a reason. Doesn't matter what you do. If you're big enough for people to see you, someone will hate. And, but there's going to be, for every hater, there's a supporter. Maybe there's 10 supporters. I don't know. And so you can focus on the haters or you can focus on the supporters, the people you're impacting, the people you're getting stoked. And so you just have to decide what to focus on.
The more you focus on what you have, the more fulfilled you will be. And he talks so much about fulfillment because you don't lose that hunger. You don't lose that obsession when you're fulfilled. So he talked about how important it is to solve problems that matter. And that sense of control it's an illusion. Influence is the skill that you want to master. So when you focus on influencing, then what was it that he said about the highest paid people?
the highest paid people are people that can influence and impact people's emotions.
They can change their state.
Yeah. So if you can change someone's state, of course, for the better, right? You can make the most money.
Yeah. And in order to learn how to influence and to change other people's state, we need to know how to master it ourselves.
That's
We
right.
need to know how to get to that beautiful state, that peak state ourselves. So just more being in integrity of that value of practicing. This isn't like, oh, I have to be happy all the time. This is, oh, recognizing where did my energy go? Where did my focus go? Oh, I'm snapping back into it. And that's the nervous system regulation I work with all my clients with, because we need that as the foundation of our business, as the foundation
Yeah.
of our life.
In order to be able to impact others and be able to impact their emotions and help them and have impact and make money, is you have to first be able to essentially control your own, right? And I guess impact yourself. And in order to be able to breathe, in order to help others breathe, you first have to breathe. The example that he used, and I've heard a million times, is if you're on an airplane, right, and the plane's like going down and the oxygen masks come down, whose oxygen mask do you put on first? Let's say you got a kid, right, and you're on the plane with your kid. Do you put on your mask first or the kid's mask?
No, you don't put on the kids first, because if you're not giving yourself oxygen, you're not going to have oxygen to put on the kid.
Yeah, and then who dies?
You both die.
You both die. So if you don't put on your oxygen mask first, the kid dies and you die. So you got to put on your oxygen mask first so that you can help others. And I think a lot of people, with good intentions miss that, because they're like, oh, I want to help others.
Yeah.
But they forget to help themselves because like, well, I'm not
Yeah.
important. And then they suffocate figuratively, and then they
Yeah.
got nothing to give. And so it's important to, in a weird way, be a little bit selfish so that you can help others. Because if you can't breathe, you can't help anybody else. So you gotta make sure that you're breathing, and then give what you can. So
Yeah.
anyways,
You rationalize. You skip the yoga class so you can work those extra hours. You skip the things that make you feel so good so that you can give and serve. But the irony of that is you're not giving to yourself. You're not filling your own cup. You're not focusing on what makes you thrive. So we lose energy. And the more energy we lose, it's going to get harder to shift into that peak state so that you can truly serve people the strongest.
yeah, you can't serve anyone with an empty tank, right?
Yeah. So the second thing is, what does it mean? So you decide what things mean. You decide, is this the end or is this the beginning? Because meaning equals emotion and emotion equals life.
So what to focus on? What does it mean, right? Because once you focus on something, I mean, as we talked about, there's a million things you could focus on, right? So that right there, like, has a lot of impact, what you can focus on. And then from there, what does it mean? And then, because there's a million different directions you can go there too. Is this person challenging me? Are they insulting me? Are they giving me a gift? Are they enlightening me? No. So there's a bunch of different ways you can interpret the same exact thing. So once you focus on it, what does it mean?
What we interpret as a meaning has everything to do with our belief system, has everything to do with the way we see the world. So if we believe the world is an angry place, a dark place, well, guess what? If you walk down the street and you smile at someone and they don't smile back, someone who sees the world as dark and scary is going to be like, what?
Yeah,
Oh my
they're
God.
evil. They hate me.
They hate me.
Right.
What's wrong with me? Do I not look good? But someone who sees the world as beautiful, as pure, as love,
Right. They can
and
see,
they walk
they're
down,
locked in. They're focused. They're on a mission, and
or
you could be stoked for them, right?
or they didn't notice me.
But
They
they didn't
didn't
notice
see
me,
me. But
Yeah.
they're not making it about themselves, and they're not making that person be a negative person.
Right.
It falls.
Right. Because you don't you don't know, but you could assign meaning, based on your belief system. That's great point there. Yeah.
Yeah. And we did a very, very, very powerful exercise about beliefs.
Oh yeah.
Very powerful exercise.
Oh
And
yeah.
we can dive into this here. We can dive into this here real quick, because this was on another level. I mean, I don't even think I can say the words for what this experience was.
Yeah.
There were about 10,000 of us in the stadium. And he had us first identify our top 3 limiting beliefs. And within those limiting beliefs, he made the stadium pure darkness. He turned all the lights off. All the lights off. You couldn't even see your hand in front of you. And right before that happened, he made all the kids leave the room. To which I was like, what's about to happen? Like,
They had like a kids
had
room.
them.
They were gonna chaperones or something. I was like, what is going on here?
He had the kids leave the room, and he walked us through the cost, the consequences of what would happen if we hung on to those beliefs for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And he guided us into the pure cost of who we would lose, what our life would look like, the sound we would make, the feeling we would make. 10,000 people in a stadium were screaming,
Yeah.
crying, every primal emotion that you can imagine, myself included. I went in there with 3 limiting beliefs, thinking that was what I wanted to let go of, only to find limiting beliefs that were literally 5 layers deeper that came through during that exercise, for lack
Yeah.
of a better word.
Yeah.
And as a result, I made immediate change after that. I made 3 very monumental changes that I'm still processing. And I think maybe I'll share in a future episode, but I'm very much in it and processing it right now. And Mike is on that journey with me.
I can very much
And
see like differences already, for the better. And freaking, it's amazing.
yeah, and I'm 1% out of 10,000, and I was impacted that strongly. And
Right?
I kept thinking in my head, with the amount of emotion that everyone was letting go of. And one thing I'll never forget is he asked us, who have you already lost with this belief? Who else would you lose? And this woman behind me, I'm going to start crying. This woman behind me was like, my mom. And that was when my layer of belief that came up, that was so deep, because it made me think about my dad and some limiting beliefs that I had that created a rift with my dad. And all it took was him to peel back the layers. Think of an onion. He just kept peeling the layers of the onion. And the amount of trust that he built with us to create the environment of the release, it could have been an angry mob.
Yeah.
But because he had that trust, he let us truly experience what the cost of doing nothing was.
Yeah. The cost of holding on to these limiting beliefs.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yep.
The cost of holding on to those limiting beliefs. And when we were done letting go, he brought us back into this empowering state, came back in the peak state of, okay, are you ready to commit? Are you ready to say no? People who were ditching alcohol, people who were ditching cigarettes, people who were ditching the deep beliefs that pushed people away, that kept them stuck.
Right.
I can even imagine the change that happened on that day. I experienced so much change on that day. Imagine the 10,000 other people and 5,000 people on Zoom. So 15,000 people that he held that space for. And it was extraordinary.
It really was.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, to build that much trust is nuts. I mean, you're 100% right. He's like freaking magical, I swear. And then I had breakthroughs too, and it's nuts. And so that, and right after that exercise, we rewrote like a new story. He called it scratching the CD. Because he's like he's was very much alive and thriving in the CD era, right? And he's like, back then, if you scratch a CD, what happens? Well, all the music starts to skip. The CD doesn't work anymore. And so he's like, well, these limiting beliefs, they're like programmed in your mind, like a CD. And so what he's trying to get us to do is to essentially scratch that CD and be like, yo, you just said these beliefs aren't serving you. So we got to scratch that CD. So that pattern breaks, that neural pathway breaks, because that's been leading to, people losing relationships with their moms, and we have to rewrite a new belief.
Yeah.
And then
we did that.
you take out the old CD because it's not working anymore. You put a new one in, and you have this new beautiful song, I guess,
And do you remember what we did to rewrite the belief? He had us say the old belief while we stuck our fingers in our nose.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Remember they called on some lady and they were like, hey, you right there. And they had the camera big on her face, and they're like, yeah, put your finger in your nose. And she puts her finger in her nose, and it's like huge on the screen. and that was how he got us to interrupt the pattern of the old belief. So you put your finger in your nose and you say the old belief in like a little kid, like mocking voice, like a little kid would mock you So you say it to
Yeah.
yourself in that voice with your finger up your nose, and it starts to sound ridiculous to you. And
And
then
do you
you
know,
rewrite the belief after that with a new, more empowering one.
I was just going to say the reason why he had us do it in such a funny way and way that we would remember, he attached emotion to the
Yes.
rewiring. Because think about it. Everyone remembers where you were when you
Yup.
think of where you were on 9/11.
Yup. Very
Everyone
emotional
listening.
day, right?
Very emotional day. And in order for true change to happen, we need to have significant emotion attached to it.
Yeah, because of how emotional 9/11 was, you remember, just exactly where you were, and because there was such heightened emotion, it sticks, right? And so the point that I think you're trying to make is he's like a master of emotions, right? He can impact people's emotions. He makes a lot of money, right? And so by getting into this, essentially high emotional state, when we rewrite the CD, it'll stick. That's kind of the point.
Yeah. Yeah, he can impact people's emotions, but more importantly, he can influence people's emotions. He can influence people's states. And it's also why he's massively successful.
Yep.
He
Has so
has
much
made
impact, and
$10 billion. And he does it by changing people's lives because he knows how to influence people's emotions the same way that he did with us. Incredible. And the amount of people he's fed, because his
yep,
mission is to feed people that don't have food. So billions and billions and billions of meals that he's been able to provide. So his
provide.
mission is huge.
It is so aligned with his mission of like just helping people essentially rewire themselves to be better, do better, impact more, and help others more. And it's so insane because I feel like a lot of people, like Tony Robbins is a unicorn, man. He's so like energetic and full of life and so aligned, and you can just feel it. He's so like he's been doing this event for how long? It was like almost 50 years, right?
Yeah.
And like he looks a lot younger than he is, and he's just so like stoked to help you rewire their brain to get more out of life and in all
Yeah.
aspects, right? You could make more
Yeah.
money, do more with your business, do more as an athlete, do more with your health, do more in your relationship.
Well, when your mission is big, you want to make all the money that you can so that you can give
Well,
more.
well, that's a good point. So the more you make, the more you can give.
And that's the meaning, rewiring your belief. And the third one is, what am I going to do?
And what to focus on, what does it mean, and then what to do.
So just asking yourself, what do I want right now for my life? Looking at your beliefs, looking at your values, looking at the conditioning that's brought you to where you are and choosing to scratch the CD, like we said. It's having that cognitive, that emotional, that physical mastery. And what he said was, being able to maximize your capacity, because that's the only way to measure your success. And you do this a lot, Mike. You're constantly maximizing your capacity with skateboarding, with your personal training. I mean, your trainer tells you, expand the box.
Yeah.
Like when we are constantly expanding our box, choosing that's what we're going to do is to expand, then we're not falling into a pattern of what's controlling us. We get to have that ownership. We get to have that control. And we get to choose what the pattern we want it to, like what we want to be the pattern for. And you and I and Tony Robbins are a huge fan of Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn, he said,
That's the goat.
Jim's the man. He said, success is not one thing. It's accumulation of patterns.
Love that. Yeah.
So everything is patterns.
Yeah. Success leaves clues, right?
Success leaves clues.
Yeah. People that are successful, they have certain patterns, right? And so you can follow those clues, follow those patterns, because it's success isn't personal. It's not like, oh, this guy has it and I don't, or vice versa. It's like a bunch of patterns. So the more you can
Yeah.
learn to recognize patterns, the more you can learn to adopt those patterns. If you just find someone who has what you want, and then proximity is power, right? Get close to them, whatever it takes, even if it means freaking paying money, whatever, get close to them however you can. And study the patterns, ask better
Yeah.
questions, and
Yeah.
just pay attention. The world is your library, as Kobe says, right? How can you tune into something? So you just got to know what you want, tune into it, study people that have done what you want to do,
Yeah.
study the patterns, adopt the belief systems that got them there. And then what did you say? The belief system, affects the meaning, right? So if you have a certain belief system, because I feel like a lot of people have like a lot of limiting beliefs around money, for example, right? And so a lot of people
Yeah.
think like, oh, money is the root of all evil, right? I feel like we've all heard
Yeah.
that one. And so if you, do you think someone who's making a ton of money, he believes that? Well, no, of course not. Because I mean, money's not the root of all evil. And like, money is a tool. It could be good or bad, depending how you use it, right? But if you find someone who has what you want and adopt their belief systems, then you're not going to have disempowering meanings in situations where we would have before.
Yeah. And you said something really important earlier. You said proximity is power.
Yeah.
And Tony brought out so many masters, so many coaches, so many people he's brought into his team because he gets it. He knows. And you and I we get this too, is we understand the value of when we want to get to where we want to go, we find someone who's already done it and we put them in our corner and we get there faster, no matter
100%.
what it takes, because the cost of doing it yourself is going to take years. And what's the cost of inaction? Tens of thousands of potential dollars, like thinking about, the time, the energy, the pain.
Time's the biggest
Why?
one, in my opinion. You'll never
Time
get
is the
that
most
back.
valuable asset.
Yeah.
It's the most valuable asset. So you can save decades by learning from other people's. I think something very interesting you talked about is the concept of the emotional home, the pattern, the emotions that we know, and how we find a way to come back to them. And it made me think of an example. One friend that I grew up with and I was friends with, she grew up in New Orleans, and Hurricane Katrina wiped out her house, lost her house in Hurricane Katrina. And a couple months later, this is one of the most resilient people I've ever met. A couple months later, her mother got cancer and her mother passed away. And as a result, a few months after that, her father killed himself. And she got another home in Louisiana and lost it to another hurricane. And I remember thinking, why doesn't she just move? And Tony said a similar example with, the Wizard of Oz and Dorothy. And I think of my friend because she saw it as home. This is her home. They will rebuild. They will stay there. And that's what the emotional home is no matter whatever your emotional home is, whether it's anger, whether it's irritability, whether it's sadness, you will do whatever it takes to come back to that place. You will look for triggers. Your RAS will be activated to coming back to that safe space. Even if it's chaos, it feels like home.
Yeah. There's no place like home, right?
There's no place like home.
Yeah.
So it's choosing what kind of home do you want to be your home base that you want to come back to, that you can inspire from.
Right.
And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable finding a new home. It's uncomfortable finding a new place.
Yeah. If you grew up in, a certain place, to uproot everything and move is scary, uncomfortable, risky, right? And so it's real easy to go back to familiar things and things we know, and where we know people and feel like we have safety and security and friends. And so, it's real easy to go back to the hand we were dealt, so to speak, right? And but we don't
Yeah.
have to, And so we can create a new home, that doesn't have all these hurricanes, right? If you want to, or maybe you
Yeah.
like it there. If you like it there, that's fine. Maybe your home is serving you and there's no need to change it, and that's great. But if your home is not serving you, as Jim Rohn says, then get up and move. You're not a tree.
Yeah. 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 And I think gratitude is that key ingredient. He talks about the law of fulfillment. If you're around anything enough, you will take it for granted. And I think you and I have really mastered this in our relationship, because he said, do things like you did in the beginning. So many people will get out of the honeymoon phase.
Right.
Mike, I don't think we ever got out of our honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever got out of our California honeymoon phase. We really treat California like our permanent Cali vacation, we call it. Because every single day we look around at the palm trees, we look around and just find so much awe in where we are, in our environment, in our relationship, because we treat it like we do in the beginning. So he said, constantly find awe in the things you do. Find the gratitude in the things you do so that excitement is always there. Because if you feel like the magic is gone, can you take yourself back to the timeline of when it was new before it became familiar? And I think you and I, we don't let things feel familiar. We always let things feel new. People will see us in public and think that we just started dating.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna be dating for 5 years, like in March. Like, it doesn't even feel that way because it really does feel like we just met because we
Yeah.
do things like we do in the beginning. Same with business. Like, I treat my business as it's my baby, and I don't let myself be familiar with my business. Every day my business feels like awe, wonder, extraordinary, outstanding.
Yep. Yeah, it's so important because if you going back to, what to focus on, what does this mean? What am I going to do? So if you think, if you assign the meaning to something, oh, this is the beginning versus this is the end, then what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to behave very differently. This is the beginning of a relationship or the end of a relationship, right? I'm going to give it my all versus give it nothing. We get senioritis, right? And so what does it mean? And what am I going to do? So if you focus on feeling like it's the beginning, then give it a different meaning and do something different and just get a way better quality of life.
Yeah. To be in that beautiful state.
Yeah.
And it's a decision saying every day I'm deciding that I will live in a beautiful state no matter what, because
Yeah.
life is too short to suffer. It's a decision to say no effing more. I'm not going to say the F word because then I have to mark this explicit. I don't want to mark it explicit. No effing more. No more. No more to the old stories. No more to the old patterns.
Yep.
Because why?
More of the old beliefs.
It's a decision.
Yeah.
So as you're listening to this, what is the awe in what you're already experiencing? What has already become familiar for you? Where have you lost the magic? How can you go back to how things were in the beginning and just treat it like the beginning?
Yeah.
Because when you choose to live in a beautiful state, no matter what, it becomes a muscle, a strong, strong muscle. You get there faster. You rewire faster. You find that new baseline faster. And I think it's really hard too, because an outrageous statistic that he said is the average person looks at their phone 195 times a day. You could open up your screen time and look at the pickups 195 times a day. No wonder we can't be in that beautiful state. That's not the right brain waves. I mean, if you want to look at the neuroscience of it, to get in a beautiful state, it's like getting those theta brain waves where
Yeah.
you're oneness, you're connected with oneness, you're channeling, you're in spirit. So make a decision about who you're going to be, not what you're going to do. Because who you're going to be, is that someone that's behind a screen all day? Or is that someone that's truly experiencing your environment and what you've created so that you can find how things were in the beginning?
Yeah. And when you're picking up your phone 195 times a day or whatever, I mean, you're inviting in circumstances and things that are outside of your control, potential bad news. It's very easy to get yanked around and lose control of that beautiful state. So you got to make sure that you're not allowing the world to yank you around, because that's real easy to do in
Yeah.
this day and age,
And I think my heart drops thinking about the amount of people that wake up and just look at their phone first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Before they even have time to process what's happening around them, they're getting blown around the wind of the email, the text messages, social media, letting all this outside energy come into your field before you have a chance to do gratitude. No wonder the rest of our day is feeling numb and spiraling, because we're priming ourselves with other people's energy, other people's input, other people's voice, other people's messages, instead of grounding ourselves in who we are and what we want our day to look like. I mean, that's why I start every morning with my walk and gratitude and my magical 4 questions and setting my intention for the day. And if you know me, I've shared this with you. Who do I want to be? What do I want to feel? What do I want to give? What do I want to receive? I make that decision from the moment I wake up, so I'm not being pushed around by other people's energy.
Yep.
So even just delaying, not getting on your phone until 30 minutes to an hour from when you wake up, and letting yourself breathe instead of letting other people dictate your day for you.
100%. I mean, because when you wake up in the morning and you check your notifications, whether it be your texts, your emails, your Slack channel, your freaking comments, your DMs, whatever it is, I mean, how much of that stuff is good news? All of it? Maybe, if you're lucky, but maybe half of it, maybe none of it. So the chances of you ending up in a beautiful state are pretty much slim to none if you're just allowing things to just go into your mind. That's another thing they said, is stand guard at the door of your mind. You got to make sure that you're essentially deciding what you're letting in there and what you're not, right? And then that way you can be the best you and therefore be the best for others. You can breathe, so you can help others breathe. But if you're getting yanked around and you're out of control and you can't breathe, I mean, you can't help anyone, let alone yourself. And it's so easy to just get blown around with the wind.
Yeah, true change can't happen there.
Is that the 2 millimeter thing?
He said radical change in state comes from a radical change in your physiology. So many people are resistant to the concept of change, when change is really it means you're becoming more of who you are. And he said, a square, it's like you imagine a square turning into a cube. You didn't change. You deepened. You gained a dimension. You went from being 3D to 5D. So the only way to have that lasting change is to raise your standards and to change your shoulds into musts and to really deepen who you are at your core and to really find those layers and finding your identity. Like your standards is what you tie your identity to. So changing your state, changing your physiology, finding the gratitude, raising your standards. And then from there, everything ripples because all we need to do is to just get to that state. When we're in that state, we don't even have to think about what's next. We just need to deepen into the layers of who we are. It's already inside us.
The example he gave, such a good one. He was saying, let's say you wake up first thing in the morning, you grab your phone. And by the way, when you do that and you're kind of half awake, your brain's in like a very like spongy place. Like you absorb stuff a lot more in that short window between when you first wake up and right when you're about to fall asleep. It's like a different brainwave. I forgot what it's called. Is it theta,
It's
right?
still in theta.
Yeah,
It's
you're
still
in
in
theta.
theta. It's
Right.
still like the juicy, like half awake, half asleep meditative state where we're so raw.
Yeah, we're so raw because that's kind of where you can access your subconscious mind is during that state, which for most people is a kind of a short time window. It's only a little bit right when you wake up and a little right when you go to bed. But I was actually having a conversation about this earlier about how some of the greatest thinkers in history, like Thomas Edison, learned to like control that state and to enter that state so that you can essentially rewire your subconscious mind. That's how Thomas Edison like invented the light bulb, I guess, is by learning to control that. If you're just thrown off right away, like fire hose to the face, all this stuff, how are you going to react? You're probably going to get pissed off, thrown off, stressed, disheveled, a lot of negative things, right? But he took us through this exercise, to get into peak state. And then he says, once you're there, and you have to like really feel it to really experience this, but once you're in this state, you're fired up, you're ready to just grab life by the horns. Now you check your text and you see that same exact text with the bad news. How are you going to respond?
Yeah.
Now? Are you going to respond the same way? No, you're going to respond totally differently, right? So yeah, maybe rather than getting attacked by the bull, you're going to grab the bull by the horns and you're going to like take control and you're going to have a better response and therefore a better outcome, right? So you're going to have, what am I going to do?
Yeah, and I think there's a myth that we think that we can't change people who don't want to change.
Oh yeah, this was a good one.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you, the listener, do you believe that you can change someone who doesn't want to change? You're probably saying, no, of course not. You can't
That's what I
just change
said,
someone
yeah.
who doesn't want to change. Yeah. But you can. And he gave an example of A Christmas Carol, Scrooge. Scrooge didn't want to change. But when Scrooge was presented with the pain, when the pain is big enough, when the consequence is big enough, and you see the past, you see the present, you see the future, you see all the dimensions of what would keep happening, similar to the exercise we did. Even if someone didn't want to change, even if someone in that stadium that was deeply, deeply in a place of resentment and anger, I mean, you heard that one woman, she said, I was in therapy for 10 years on medication, and that transformational experience of that exercise we did, she's like, it's all gone.
Yeah, and like
It's all gone.
in like a weekend, it's all fixed. I hate to use the word fixed, but yeah, 15 years of therapy and medicine solved in a weekend. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
and there's probably listeners that are like, oh, well, how do you know that she's just not going to bounce back? Well, I'll tell you, that was also me. That was also me. I
Yeah.
was on every antidepressant in the planet. I was on Xanax. I was on anti-anxiety. I was on ADHD medication, Adderall, Ritalin. You name it, I was on it. I was a walking zombie from, in my high school years because that was what my parents thought, that Western medicine, this is what you do. You go to the doctor. They put me in therapy. It didn't work. It did not work. It did
Turns you into
not
a
work. It did
zombie.
not work.
Yeah.
You know what did work? Hiring my life coach and doing this nervous system regulation. And within a month and ever since, I don't even take Advil. I rewired depression, anxiety, and ADHD out of my body. Now, is that to say, I never have ADHD experiences where, I don't glitch, or I never have days where I just want to lay in bed all day? Of course I do. I think every human does, but I snap and come back to my baseline. I come back to my beautiful state faster. And I don't need anything external or any medication to do that.
Yep.
These are the same tools that I did in my life with my coach that Tony taught us as well. And it reaffirmed it to an even deeper level as we were there. And I say that to you for evidence because it's really easy to think. And we have so many stories of, oh, I tried to change in the past, but it didn't actually work.
Right.
Okay, well, did we actually rewire at the core what those beliefs are? Did we actually come to the beautiful state consistently every time? Because if I did that, if I could have done that, you can absolutely do it too.
Yeah. I mean, we're all just a kid from somewhere, right? I mean,
I'm I'm not anyone special. I'm just a kid from Ohio who had
yeah,
a dream and came out to California and just knew that there was another way, knew that I didn't have to rely on medicine and therapy and digging up my past to create real lasting change. And instead I could do the nervous system regulation work in the present moment and really anchor in the future that I want in real time. And I say that with a master's in psychology. I say that as a graduate school professor that taught psychology and taught grad students how to be multiculturally competent therapists. This isn't just me saying, oh yeah, I'm teaching you the woo-woo way. This is experience and rootedness. And this is not me hating on therapy either. I think there's value, but there's another way. There
Yeah.
is another way.
And the thing that I tripped out most about is, I mean, going back to that example of that woman who was saying, well, I was in therapy doing all this medication for like 15 years. And in this weekend, all those depression is gone. The thing that trips me out the most, because he's got a million stories like that. And we experience this, right? With the limiting beliefs exercise is a lot of times to rewire whatever's going on that's causing that. It's like a 2 millimeter shift. You just have to know what button to press or what lever to pull or which knob to turn 2 millimeters to point this way, because the example that I remember so clearly is golf, right? I've played a lot of golf when I was younger. And for those of you that play golf or, at least know the basic principle, right? When you hit the ball, you're hitting it pretty far, right? When you're hitting that first shot, when you're driving, you can hit it, 200 yards or something more. And if you want it to go straight, but it's real easy to get it to go all the way to the right or all the way to the left, hook or slice. Scott, one of his guest speakers, was sharing a story of when he was, golfing, and he had a golf coach who he hit this like beautiful shot and it was like perfect straight down the driveway, like 280 yards or something. And then his coach was like, okay, great. And he's like, now try this. And he moved his elbow like 2 millimeters and he hit another one and it went way all the way onto the other fairway. It was like a horrible shot and it was totally out of bounds. And it was just the worst shot ever, right? And the difference was like a 2 millimeter shift at the source. And it made this enormous difference down the line. But when it over time or over distance, that 2 millimeter shift makes a bigger and bigger and bigger distance as you travel. And so he's like, that is a great, I think, analogy for a lot of these changes, because we go back to the whole scratch in the CD thing with the limiting beliefs. And it's like, well, this one seemingly silly thing can be that maybe it's just 2 millimeters off. It can be causing this huge problem in our life because it just wasn't tweaked at the source. And so a lot of times the changes that have massive impact aren't even that big. They're actually really tiny, but you just got to make the right changes and you can have massive impact.
Yeah. And I think it's really easy to change our behavior and then wonder why did nothing change? I'm changing my behavior. If we don't change our beliefs and we only change our behavior, nothing changes. And I think so many people, myself included in the past, I would put all of my energy in changing my behavior.
That's good, yeah.
But if we don't work at the core, if we don't work at the root of what the belief system is, I want everyone listening to just take a moment and spend 5 minutes and just look at what is in your belief system. What is the certainty that you are seeing the world in? Positive or negative, you're right. What do you want it to be?
Yeah.
Because the moment we work at the root and we change the beliefs, then the behavior changes automatically. We're focusing the energy in the wrong place. It's a simple 2 millimeter shift in choosing to redirect the belief system instead of the behavior.
Yep. And the belief system affects what things mean, what you do. A 2 millimeter shift, in your belief system, the world is a beautiful place. And then when someone tells you something, what does it mean? Oh, it means they're trying to help me. And I'm going to react positively, And so this like these little shifts can make this world of difference in our lives. It's trippy to think about.
Yeah. But you know what makes it really hard to make a change in your belief system and your behaviors is doing it yourself. Change has to be full immersion. We were in there for
Yeah, yeah,
4 days. We were immersed in the experience. Of course, we changed. So, getting access to the world's best strategies and people who have done what you want to do closes the gap quicker.
yeah.
Because if you're in a group that doesn't have the skills, if you have a friend group, you can't coach each other. You need peers and mentors. And he gave a perfect example of these ladies that go on their morning walk and they're hyping themselves up. They want to, lose some weight. They want to be healthy, but they're all going on the walk and then getting Starbucks, drinking the 700-calorie Frappuccino. And then like, okay, I guess we're done. And then after a week, they see nothing changed. So they quit.
Yeah.
They're not around a fitness coach who has lived and walked the walk that is able to coach them. You can't coach each other and you can't do it yourself. You can. It might take you 5 to 10 years. So the question you get to ask yourself is, what is that 5 to 10 years worth to you? Because in a world that has accelerated knowledge and days where we are rapidly changing with AI, by the time you make a change yourself, the world is already in a completely different place. So collapsing timelines is at a whole new priority now more than ever. That's why I love what we do. We create immersive experiences for our clients where they collapse timelines. It's insane. It's insane. I mean, I just told you the story of one of my clients who selling her offer for $1,500 and changing it to $6,000 and selling it in less than 30 days.
Right.
Now that she has that asset and that skill, look at the amount of money. She would have kept selling it at $1,500.
Right. For how long? Could have been years,
And someone who wants to build a family and is not able to because of the finances or the time that they want to spend with their family, what is that time worth to you?
Yeah.
So that's why I love what we do, is because we help people collapse timelines. We create those immersive experiences and we get to help people make that decision. And
Yeah.
I'll end with this. And this is something that blew both of our mind.
Yeah.
What does decision mean? Have we ever looked at the word decision?
Oh, yeah.
It's the opposite of incision. Decision means you're cutting off everything except what you're committed to. Think about that.
Yeah. I love that. You're cutting off all other paths, leaving only
Yeah.
one thing to focus on.
Yeah. So what do you want that to be? What do
Right.
you want to focus on?
What do you want to go all in on?
And what's the belief system that is in the gap that has been blocking you and keeping you stuck, that has been leading to the same behavior, the same pattern?
Yep. And one thing I'd like to add, by the way, because we have access, like the amount of stuff that we have access to, the amount of knowledge that we have access to, the amount of people that we have access to in this day and age is honestly nuts. Because if I think about even like my parents, right, let alone my grandparents, who I remember my dad was telling me if you wanted to buy stocks when he was young, you had to like go downtown. I grew up in Chicago, for those of you that don't know. And, you had to like go downtown to like I think it was called the Chicago Board of Trade, to like a physical building. And you had to like get like a physical paper, it was like a ticket to like buy your stock. And then like you had to keep it in like your wallet or your drawer. And then if you wanted to sell it, you had to go back there and like trade in this ticket. It was just so much harder to do things, and like, let alone getting access to someone who could help you decide which stocks to pick and how to do it right. And, so if you want to learn any skill, we live, in a day and age, we have access, like people that can help you with basically anything, you can find any expert in any field, in anything that you're interested in on the internet, like instantly. You don't have to like just happen to know someone or just happen to like have a random rich freaking aunt or uncle or something. You can find access to any area of life or that you're looking to improve at your fingertips. And it's just, it's crazy. I just really appreciate that, because you can really fast track life and get so much more out of life than like our parents or our grandparents even could. It wasn't even possible because they couldn't fast track stuff. No, they couldn't skip the line, even if they paid, no matter how much they were willing to pay or whatever, it wasn't an option.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think most people, and myself in the past included, I got hung up on the money part. The finances of, oh my God, I can't afford to have this mentor. I can't afford to have a coach. And I want to tell you that I see you and I hear you.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that it's not about your finances. It's about your belief that you couldn't find a way. And if you shift that belief into how can I find a way? How can I find the money? How can I get resourceful?
Yeah. Rather than asking, can I do this? The better question to ask is, how can I do this? There's a will, there's a
Yeah.
way, right? So whatever it is that you
Yeah.
want, just add that how right before. How can I?
Yeah.
Changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we could literally keep talking
We could
for
go for
hours.
4
I
days
think
on this. I mean, yeah,
I
how
th-
long's
I
it
I
been?
think I think we only talked for one day out of the 4 days too. So,
Yeah, I mean,
um day 4 was all health and wellness
yeah, that's a
and
whole separate topic.
vitality. We didn't even talk about day 4. So maybe in future episodes we'll bring
Yeah.
in some nuggets, but I always trust what comes through in the moment, intuitively, what resonated the most for us. This was an extraordinary experience for us. I think you and I can both agree that our life will never be the same. The dimension that we deepened into, just being in that immersive experience for 4 days, and it's just incredible, and I'm just so grateful that you were there with me, and we got to do
Same.
that and to fill up our cup so that we could serve our clients with all of this knowledge too. So if you feel like you're in a place and you want to deepen and really dive into your belief system around sales, around money, around how can I sign more clients by stepping into this version of me that can lead, that can impact, that can serve, these are the immersive rooms that I hold. These are the timelines that my clients collapse in weeks. And these are the experiences that I fill my time and energy with so that I can pour into you and serve you so hard because I want you to win. I want you to win. And we have some exciting things coming up. We're building our
Mm,
group program right now, the Revenue Room. And if you haven't already put your name on the wait list, I'll put it in the show notes. You
mhm.
do not want to miss the beta launch. If you've ever been a part of my beta launch for anything, you know that when you're on the ground floor, you are getting hooked up. You are seeing it come alive. And yeah, that's what we got coming up, helping you become a master with sales and fulfillment and enrolling clients. And Mike, you're going to be in there too. You're going to be helping people with studying the DMs and how to have conversations where people aren't leaving you on red, where you can
Oh,
successfully get the people that are in your DMs on your discovery calls and leading them through that discovery call with confidence and making so much money, so much impact, so much love, so much confidence and predictability.
yes, indeed. Looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing, and we have so much to share.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you for listening. I'll drop some things in the show notes. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, I just posted a slider of our experience with Tony. So if you want to see some visuals with this podcast, once again, it's really hard to express it, but my hope for you is with this podcast episode and with the slider, you are really able to step into what we were able to experience and hopefully walk away with some shift in what your belief systems are and working at the core of what you truly want to change. Any last words, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for 4 more days, but I mean, I just feel like, I don't know about you, but I just feel like I have so much more energy now, you know?
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
basically just changed my mind, which is
Yeah.
crazy to say out of context, right? It sounds insane, but you know, it's just, yeah, man, I just been snapping into peak state whenever I want. And I just, I'm still fired up, and it's, it's nighttime
Yeah.
now. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
You broke through the resistance of peak state being
Yeah. Yeah.
dangerous. Like being in peak state all the time, like can I really be in this all the time? Is this
Right.
safe for
Yeah.
my
Is it
nervous
dangerous?
system?
We got a crash
Yeah.
meter, am I gonna,
Yeah.
is my head gonna explode, Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the message here is, are you willing to make a commitment to be in this beautiful state no matter what? And just watch what you create from this place. Thank you for being here with us. And if you tag me on Instagram listening to this podcast episode, I will restore you. I will have the biggest smile on my face. And I'm so excited to be here with you on another episode. I will see you next Tuesday on the Really Raw Podcast. Bye.
If this episode resonated with you in any way, if something clicked, expanded, or shifted for you, I'd love for you to share it and tag me on Instagram at Radiant Rahoff so I can celebrate your breakthroughs with you. And if you haven't already, subscribe and leave a 5-star review so more high-level coaches like you can find this space. Thank you for being a part of this community. I love you, and I'll see you next Tuesday.